Hello there and welcome to today's webinar. I'm so excited to be talking to you because this is one of my favourite things to do at the end of each month to prepare us for the month ahead. So today we're going to be looking at content planning and how we can put some tools in place to ensure that we have a really successful December. Now, if you're tuning into the recording, you should have been sent a workbook to go with this webinar. If you are listening to me live, I've popped the link to the workbook in the chat and you're going to be using that in today's workshop. So make sure you've got that handy. You can either have it printed out and you can write on it, or you can just reference it and use it as well. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Today's webinar is recorded, just so that you're aware in terms of your privacy. It's always important for you to know. So when I say recorded, it means that the recording will show if you interact with me, it'll show some of that information. But in terms of your privacy, it does go out on the Business Station YouTube channel. So it will be available on there. And if you have booked for today's webinar and you're attending live, they will still send you the recording as well. All right, let me just check. Apologies. I'll just try again. How's that? My apologies. I think you should be able to see it now. Awesome. Okay, good. Thanks for clarifying. It's always, webinars always have a different format, and Zoom and the chat's not the same for me. So I've sorted it out now. All right, so the recording will be sent to you. If you're attending live and you want to get the recording, please don't request it from me, because Business Station keep the recording and it is them that will have access to it. Today's webinar will last for an hour, so we're going to go from 1 till 2 o'clock if you're here in Perth. If you do have questions, please feel free to ask them as we're going. You would like to share. Because of the nature of a webinar, you can't actually contribute, like unmute yourself, but you can pop your questions in the chat and I'm happy to answer those. So yeah, keep with me. So for those of you who haven't met me, my name is Sarah Thompson. I'm the owner and founder of Online Social Butterfly, and I've run my own company for the last 10 years. I'm also a specialist advisor and trainer with Business Station, and I've worked with them as a consultant for the last 2.5 years. So I've got 10 years in digital marketing, and I've got about 15 years in marketing and communications. So I've been doing this stuff for quite a long time. I do have quite a few qualifications, but I won't read them all out because it always sounds a bit braggy. But I've just finished my master's, which is pretty great. I'm happy to have that behind me. If you would like to connect with me, you're welcome to check me out on Facebook and Instagram. So that's enough about those slides. I'm going to stop my share now and I'm going to just talk. So you've all got the handout and I'm going to talk to that specifically, and I'm just going to pop it in front of me so I'm looking at it as well. Let me just open it. So with our content planning for today, how it's going to work is we're going to spend a little bit of time actually creating this. So there's going to be moments where I'm going to be sitting quietly and I want you to actually be doing the work, which is really, really important. So we're going to start off with the first page, which is numbered 1 in the bottom right-hand corner. So if you ever get lost, I'll just say what page we're on. And what I want us to do is I want us to have a think about how are things looking in my business right now? So I'd like you to spend a little bit of time going to have a look at your Facebook and Instagram specifically, because that's what we focus on. And I want you to write in some of these stats, like how many fans have you got? How many posts did you post over the month? Did you do any stories or videos or lives on Facebook? And on Instagram, how many followers have you got? How many posts did you do for the month? How many stories and how many reels? So I'm going to give you, let's say 3 or 4 minutes. So it's 4:04. So I'll give you 4 minutes. And if you want to kind of get that bit of information collated, it's really important that we have a starting point, that we track and measure how our social media is performing every single month. So I don't think that Zoom has a countdown on it, but I'm going to sit tight and I'm going to give you 4 minutes to complete page number 1. So you've got that data there. So if you've come in late, what we're doing is we're actually going through on the workbook, which is in the chat for you to grab. We're just working through page number 1, and I want you to go through your Facebook and Instagram accounts and record some of the data of where your account is now, because the idea is that we track this each month for growth and performance. So if you popped in late, we're on page number 1, just to be clear. Definitely add your Facebook page likes, always really helpful. And you can add likes or like your fans or your followers, because a couple of people have different information. Rosalind, if you scroll up, the booklet is just there, so you're all good. All right, so are you asking the difference between fans, followers, and likes? Fans is actually a term that we tend to use in social media, and they don't actually necessarily use that in Facebook speak. So Facebook, on your page, you have either have likes or followers, and likes are being phased out, so you may only have followers. So it's up to you which one you want to choose and use, but just remember about being consistent each month. Hope that helps you, Trevor. All right. I've just pasted the workbook again so that you can all see it, and then you've got it there. It is in there now a couple of times, but that's okay, because maybe you couldn't scroll up and see it. So I've popped it in the chat again for you. Okay. So I'm just conscious of time and the fact that we need to keep moving, because we've got quite a lot to get through in this hour together. So remember, ideally, I track my Instagram and Facebook performance every month, and I check it month by month to make sure that A, I'm showing up more, and that B, my following is growing because I'm being active. And they're really important measures to have in our business. Right, so we're going to move on to page number 2 in the workbook. And in page number 2, what we're going to be talking about is what is our focus going to be for the month of December. Now, December is obviously quite a busy time for people because they're super distracted either with summer holidays or with Christmas. But I want you to have a think about what would you like to be selling or promoting in your business during the month of December. So I want you to think about what one product or service you're going to choose, because one of the mistakes that we generally make on social media, and the reason we get so overwhelmed with creating content, is because we try and tell people everything that we do in our business. And so they only catch the odd post. And so I run lots of different workshops. I do lots of different webinars. I have online courses. I have consulting. If I tried to tell you about all of those all the time, it would be really overwhelming. So each month I choose a focus for my business. So I want you to think about what one thing will you be focusing on in your business for the month of December. So I want you to fill out that box number 1 on page 2. And then I want you to think about how would you describe this product or service or offering. So you want to make sure you're very clear on what it is so people can understand it. And then I want you to go to the final box on page number 2. And I want you to think about what do you need to give people in terms of information. So do they need to know the date, the time, the pricing? What is it that must go in when you're talking about this in terms of your social media content? So I'm going to give you about four minutes to complete this page. And remember, please don't rush ahead. And what I really want you to focus on is thinking about what is my focus going to be and what do I want to promote and how do I describe it? Because if you're very clear on that, it's going to make your content writing when it comes to it much easier. So today we're planning, and then you will be able to write it down the track. So I hope that's helped. I'll shush. Okay, so hopefully you've put a nice and a detailed amount of information into that page, because it's really important for you moving forward with your content planning that you're very clear on what is your theme or your focus for the month of December, and really honoring that and sticking with it in a really firm way. So key. So we're going to move on to page number 3, but we're going to take this step by step. So if you can flow with me, that would be really, really helpful, because what we want to do is make sure we give each one of these questions sufficient time. Now, question number 1 is, what does someone need to know before they buy from you? And this is something we really forget to talk about in our business. So this can take a number of different angles, and I want you to, we're going to spend 4 minutes filling out each one of those. So with that question, think about, if you're a consultant like me, people want to know a little bit about, who is Sarah? What is her qualifications? What is her experience? How long have I been doing this for? If you have a service, like a product-based business, like an e-commerce website, you might want to share with people, this is the person behind the product. This is why I decided to sell this kind of product. This is what I love. This is who I am. They might also want to know, what is it that I'm going to need to do before I actually buy? So do I have to commit to time? Do I have to commit to energy? So I want you to think about answering that question, and we're going to spend 4 minutes doing that, because this is a really, really important one in terms of your content planning. So we're going to take 4 minutes for question number 1. Do not rush ahead, because we want to take our time with each one of those. Okay, so I'm going to start the clock now, and we've got 4 minutes for question number 1. Okay, so if you've popped in late, we're just in the process of working through the workbook, and the workbook is in here, and I think I'm just going to repaste it just in case you can't see it. So with the workbook, what we're doing is we're currently working on page number 3, and we're answering question number 1. So if you've just popped in a little bit late and you're sitting here going, why is it quiet? It's because we're working through the workbook. So grab the workbook, and if you can start, what I want you to think about is your theme for the month of December, like the one focus that you're going to have, the product or service that you're going to talk about exclusively during the month of December. So if you want to kind of skip through page number 2 and then start on number 3 and catch up, that would be great. Okay, so that's our 4 minutes for question number 1. Now, with question number 2, why do they need to buy and what problem does it solve? Now, this can make such great social media content, because a lot of us simply talk about our product and say, I have this product and you can, I'm going to use, what can I use an example? If you want to do consulting with me. So I offer consulting and you can come and do it one-to-one, and this is the price, and we do it on Zoom. And I tell people all the information about working with me. And what I forget is, why do they need to buy it? And what is the problem that it solves? So I want you to think about, what does it solve? So I could say, if you're feeling stuck in your business and you don't understand digital marketing, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Would you like to understand digital marketing? Are you struggling with this? So when we're talking about problems that we solve, remember, people will tell us they're superficial problems. So people will say, I just need coaching because I'm just want to grow to the next level. And actually, if you dig deep, they'll say things like, I'm really struggling in my business and it's really hard and it's been a really tough couple of years. So when you're talking about the problem that you solve, I want you to dig a little bit deeper and try and connect with that thing that people tell you is, this is what's going on, and this is why I think I need to work with you. I need to buy your product. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to work on question number 2 and see how you go with that. Okay, so we're going to move on to question number 3 now. And this again is really important in terms of connecting with your audience on social media. Is once they've purchased your product or service, what is the outcome? How are they going to feel? So I want you to think about the product or service that is the focus for your month. And I want you to think about, how's it going to feel? So they're going to feel like excited or in control, or that it's solved this problem. And what does that solution look like? So remember, stepping into your audience's shoes. Why do they need to buy it? What problem does it solve? And then finally, how's it going to feel once you've solved that problem, once they've purchased it, once we're on the other side of that, to really focus on that outcome. So again, we're going to spend 3 minutes for you thinking about, what is the outcome and how will it feel once they've purchased? Okay, so we're going to move on to the final question on page number 3, and that's question number 4. And this is around objections that people might have purchasing. So remember, right now, people's cash and their finances are under a lot of pressure because of Christmas. So having objections around pricing can be a really honest thing. And I want you to think about, if I have that objection, how are you going to help me overcome it? So I want you to think about, what could you say to someone that says, I can't afford this right now, or I don't have time right now? And so I could, if I was promoting, I'm promoting a workshop during December that's all about 12-month content planning, I could say something along the lines of, if you don't have time to listen to it, I've got a recording that will be available. So I could say something like that. So I want you to think about what are people's objections and have a think about how you would mitigate them or overcome them. So again, I'm going to give you 3 minutes to work on number 4. Okay. Oh no, sorry, 4 minutes. Apologies. So someone's asked a question, I'm going to read it out because it's such a good question. Would it be reasonable to say to the person who doesn't need your product right now, look at subscribing to our newsletter or follow us on social media? Absolutely. Okay. And the way in which you could phrase that is you could say, if you love this product but simply don't have the time, make sure you join our VIP list to hear when it's next available. So you talk about your newsletter as a VIP list. Don't simply say subscribe to our newsletter, because it's a little bit dry and people won't respond to that. So think about being a bit creative. And my preference, if I'm honest, would be to ask people to subscribe to your newsletter rather than asking them to follow you on social media, because social media doesn't give us that same cut through as what we can get through email marketing. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, so that's our 4 minutes for that question. And I hope that your juices are really flowing in terms of thinking about this theme and this one product or service in your business, and thinking about how we create and plan content around this, because it's really, really important. So we're now going to move on to page number 4. And we're going to take a little bit of time with these because we've got the time today that I want you to have a think about collating this information here and now. So with testimonials, this is a content idea. We want the testimonial to directly relate to the product or service that is the theme for the month of December. Now, testimonials can come in different forms. People can email us or just send us a text going, hey, Sarah, you're great. Or you can have them on your Google reviews or on your Facebook reviews. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes for this one because I want you to go and have a quick skim of your Facebook and Google reviews and have a quick think of, has someone said something nice about this product or service that's going to be the focus for the month? So like I said, this one we're going to take 5 minutes for because I really want you to go and find some information now that you can pop in as a testimonial to help support this. If you've got more than one, try and collate them on a Word document because I know there's not space on this, but put them all together. It would be really, really helpful. So we're going to do 5 minutes for this content idea number one. So someone's asked the question, can you use that content to ask for reviews and feedback? I've only got 2 reviews and I'm struggling to get more. So I would definitely recommend that you ask for reviews. And I'll be really honest, in my business, up until I reckon about 18 months ago, so I've been in business 10 years, up until about 18 months ago, I think I had 4 reviews on Google. I just simply hadn't made a priority in my business. I've now got over 60. And what I've done is I've been really consistent in my approach to asking people who've worked with me for a review. So when I do my consulting for the week, I send out an email on a Friday asking everyone who's worked with me if they'll leave me a review. And I just find that having that constant ask is really, really helpful for you to get reviews. And you can put up a social media post at least once a month, maybe twice, and say, you know, if you've worked with me or if you've bought this product, we'd love you to leave us a review. And what I recommend that you do in that post is you put a link to Google and put a link to Facebook so that people could, it's really easy for them to go and leave a review. And you can talk about how in your post, leaving reviews helps other people know what their experience was like working with me or how much you love that product. So giving them a reason to do that, because people like to be helpful and people like to be, if they've loved it, they genuinely like to share that information. So definitely ask for reviews if you don't have very many, and you might want to take this time to kind of write up what that post might look like. I hope that answered your question. So the question's been asked, would an email from a CEO saying how much they liked ... be okay to put somewhere without permission? So I think if you're going to identify someone, I would probably ask their consent, because if people leave a Google or Facebook review, they know that it's in the public domain and that you can use that information. It's completely fine to do so. But if someone sent you an email, I feel like that's more of a private conversation. And I would just respond and say, look, I was so thrilled to get your email. Would it be okay with your permission for me to use this on our marketing? And to say marketing, because people will generally say yes, but I'd rather ask in that instance because you've obviously got a relationship with that person. So I definitely want to honor that. I hope that helps. I was just thinking, I'm not sure where I'm wearing these because I don't actually need them because you guys can't speak, can you? Take a break from my ears. Awesome. Okay, so that's our 5 minutes, and I sincerely hope that you've managed to collate some testimonials, and if you were short on testimonials, that you've maybe constructed a couple of posts where you can ask nicely on your social media for testimonials. Really, really helpful. Now, content idea number 2 is really about behind the scenes. And obviously the behind the scenes directly relates to the product or service that's your focus for the month of December. Now, please do not underestimate how much people love behind the scenes, okay? And if you doubt me, on YouTube, the #1 YouTuber, PewDiePie, has made their millions from unboxing, which means that I've got a box, I've got a product, or like a toy, a little Lego, I unbox it and I review it as I'm doing that. That is the highest grossing YouTuber. So people love behind the scenes. So if you have a physical product or service, and that's related to your theme of physical product, think about things behind the scenes. People love to see, and so you can use your smartphone to do a time lapse video, which is you packing all your orders, or you delivering your orders to the post office, or you packing, like putting the actual physical order in there. People love that kind of thing. If you have a service-based business like I do, people still really enjoy seeing how it is that you work. So again, you can take some video of it. You can say, this is what I've got on at the moment. This is how I'm working. This is what I'm working on. Do not underestimate how much people love behind the scenes. So hopefully you've got some juices flowing, and we're going to take about 4 minutes for you to write some behind the scenes content ideas. Someone just said in regards to reviews about bribing someone from India. You can buy Google and Facebook reviews that are fake. I'm not a fan of them because I don't believe they add any value to your business. I'd much rather you focus on getting legitimate reviews for your business. So that's just my 2 cents worth. Sorry, naysayer. Oh, no worries. Joke. Got you. All good. There's no tone in writing, is there? Okay, so we're going to move on to content idea number 3, which is all about a quick tip that relates to your product or service. Now, I'm a massive fan of quick tips because they lend so much to your credibility as like an expert or the person that creates a specific product. So if you are promoting a service for the month of December, I want you to give people tips that make them feel confident that you understand what it is, the service that you provide, and that you have lots of knowledge. So during the month of November, I'm promoting my Facebook ads course. And I did a live yesterday, which was a quick tip. You don't have to do a live, so please don't pop that in your head. And I talked about why boosting posts doesn't give you good results. So I did a quick tip. It's like a 2.5-minute video, nice and short and sweet. And it gives people information to kind of go, oh, that was really helpful. But also they kind of go, oh, she seems to know what she's talking about. Okay. So with your quick tips, they consolidate us as experts, and they help people. We want to give them information that is useful. So not that's hinging on them buying something. Okay. They have to be able to have a takeaway based on that tip. Now, if you're a product-based business, the tips can relate to all sorts of things. They can relate to, how do I use the product? How do I care for it? How do I get the best value from it? And because we're coming into silly season, if your product is likely to be something that people give as a gift, you could do a tip on how to best wrap this. So if it's an unusual shaped product, I've got a client that sells lots of baths and soaps, and they're so awkward to wrap. And if you did a quick, you could say, here's a quick, you could do a reel on Instagram on how to wrap your product. So thinking about quick tips and how you can use them in your business. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to think about some tips that relate to the theme for your month. Okay. Someone just said the content can be video, always. So what we're talking about at the moment is planning out our content, and then how you decide to bring that to life is entirely up to you. So you can create reels, you can create stories, you can create static content, normal posts, or you can create video content. The choice is yours, but what I want you to have at the end of today is a clear plan on what you're going to be talking about for the month of December, and content ideas, and then how you bring them to life is your choice. Okay, so someone's asked the question, they're a bit stuck on quick tips for the chosen product that's going to be an image bundle. So if you're going to promote that and give quick tips, you could say to people, here's some ideas on how you could use these. So our images can be used on your social media, they can be used on your website, they can be used on your promotional material. So you give people tips on how to make the most of that investment that they're making in purchasing images. Okay, so kind of giving them ideas, because what people think about is, if I buy that, am I going to use it? Am I going to get value from it? So we want to give them lots of tips on how they can make the most of their purchase investment. Okay. So the question's been asked, quick tips is a category of short blog posts and shared to Facebook. Would that be good or bad for a blog? So I think you might have skipped ahead, if that's okay. So if you can hold tight with me for 1 minute, we'll talk about blogs in a sec. So just hang on, and with your tips, I want you to keep them short and sweet. So probably not as long as a blog post, okay? All right. So we're going to move on to our final content idea. And this is a choice for you because I don't blog in my business anymore. I haven't for a long time. So I want you to think about if you can write a blog article that helps you create content, or if you could write a long post. Now, remember, we're sticking with our theme for the month. So there is lots of research that has been done over the last couple of years that supports the notion that on social media, and particularly Facebook, it is completely acceptable to write a very long post. So we used to live by the rule, the shorter the better, okay? And now we know, and it's really, it's kind of the Netflix effect, we call it. So what happens is you speak to someone, you go, how are you going? And the answer is always busy, because we're always busy. And then you say, what did you do on the weekend? They say, I binged 2 seasons of blah, blah, blah on Netflix, okay? So that concept, and what it is it means that if I'm interested in what it is that you're talking about, I will give you my time and read your long post or watch your long video. So do not be afraid to try longer content, but the caveat that I put on that is that first kind of like 100, 150 characters. So your first kind of sentence, it has to tell me why I want to read more. So I want you to think about when you're writing it, because we're not going to be writing today, but I want you to think about if this content's interesting, what's the kind of little, I don't want to use the word clickbait because that's misleading, but what's the hook that's going to get people reading it? So if I was going to talk about why we don't boost posts, my little hook would be, let me tell you how to stop wasting money on Facebook ads. Great hook. And then I talk about boosted posts, and I can talk about that in a really long format post. So remember, we want to give people lots of information that relates to our theme or our topic or our service. Okay. So I want you to, I'm going to spend about 3 minutes. And we're going to write down some ideas for long post or blog posts. So the questions asked, is this when you can expand on your quick tips? Definitely. And remember, different people will absorb different amounts of information. So you could actually have one post that just had a quick tip, and then you can have a long post that has that quick tip expanded right out, because I might be really busy when I see it and I might want to just read the quick tip. So don't be afraid to repeat content and talk about the same thing, because all you're doing is solidifying in my mind that you're an expert in that area. So yeah, expand your quick tips into blog posts or long posts if you feel like that's going to work for you. Okay, so that brings us to the end of those kind of content mapping ideas. And we're now going to move on to page number 5. And what I've done for you on this page is that I've included some of the kind of big key events that are coming up in December. Now with these, I want you to take a minute to read through them, because December is not simply about Christmas, okay? It is more than that. There is so much more that you can talk to your audience about. Those of you who don't know me in real life, I will definitely be talking about Short Girl Appreciation Day on the 21st because I'm super short in real life. So there's lots of fun ideas that you can do. Now, if you want to go with the month themes, it's something that you can talk about repeatedly throughout the month. So if it's Human Rights Month and that's relevant and appropriate to your business or to your audience, you can create multiple posts around that. Obviously, for the special days, it's a post on that day. Now, what my recommendation is to choose things that feel like they are a good and natural fit for your business, or that your audience is interested in, or finally, something that you personally are interested in. Like I'm really into minimalism and not collecting lots of stuff. So I love the idea of regifting. And so I would possibly talk about that on that day. So there's some special days that I think I want you to have a think about what you might use. And then we've got upcoming, obviously, our public holidays. So the 25th and 26th of December, Christmas and Boxing Day. We've then got New Year's Eve. And then coming up in January that you might want to start thinking about, is this going to be helpful for my business? We've got the summer holidays running the entire almost December, Jan, it feels like. We've got Australia Day and we've got New Year's Day on the 1st of January. So I want you to take a minute. I'm just going to give you like 2 minutes to read through these themes. And I want you to think about how it will relate to your audience or how you can make a hook so that it's interesting, and absolute bonus points if you can hook it into your theme for the month. Okay. Now, you don't have to listen, but I'm going to just respond to a question that was asked. It says, what's the pros and cons of doing a blog post versus a page on the topic? The latter can be organized in a systematic way, whereas a blog post is temporary. So if you're talking about your Facebook page, all content it moves through. So when I post another post, that one moves down. So it always moves down. A blog post can be organized on your website, and you can create individual URLs for every single blog post. So I have no preference as to what you do. If you're talking about a website for both, because we build websites, and we would always build it so that every blog post, whilst they might be organized together, when you click on them, they create their own URL. So there's no real thing. There's no real right or wrong. It depends how your website's built. But obviously, we always want to be able to send people to that exact post. So having its own URL is really, really important. Okay. Someone said bartender appreciation day. As a mum, every day is bartender appreciation. So true. I love it. That's very funny. Sorry, I'm mindful I've just talked through your 2 minutes. So I'll shush for a minute, let you just have a quick think. Okay, so hopefully that's given you enough time to have a look at those, but obviously you've got the handout for you to keep and refer back to. So I want to wrap up today's session by saying that what you have done now is you've actually committed your time and energy to creating a content plan for the month of December. And what that does is it sets you up for success, because however you write your content, and look, if you had the time after today's workshop, I would love you to sit down and actually write some posts based on your content plan. But I also know that in the real world, we're very busy business owners. So whether you plan them out for the week or the month or a day, what you now have is a tool to be very clear that this is what I'm going to be talking about on my social media for the month of December. So if you sit down every morning and you write your posts, or, once or twice a week, you sit down and go, okay, my theme for December is this. These are the content ideas that I've mapped out. What would I like to talk about today? And it becomes much easier because you're quite clear on what the kind of parameters are, rather than just going, oh, I need to talk about everything in my business every day to everyone. It becomes very overwhelming. So I want you to make sure that this tool that you have now spent like nearly an hour creating becomes something that you refer back to constantly. And I run this workshop every month, and I've been running it every month for about the last 4 or 5 months. And I've got people that have attended every month and have said, that once you start to get in the rhythm of understanding, having themes and focus, becomes a lot easier with your content creation. So I hope that you've enjoyed today's webinar and found it really, really helpful in terms of planning out your content. And the next step for you is either to go and write some content or have it at the ready when you do sit down and write your content. So you don't have to do it today, but honestly, you'll be very in the flow if you start to write some posts now, which is a great idea. I love to schedule it so I can walk away and forget about it. So I'm going to just wrap up. I'll just quickly share my screen. I probably won't ask if there's any more questions. I feel like everyone's asked lots of questions along the way, so we should all be good there. I'm not sure, but what I will just wrap up and say is that today's workshop was free of charge, and it's presented by Business Station, who run the federal government program called Digital Solutions. Now, Digital Solutions, if you're not aware, is a rebrand from the program called ASBAS, Australian Small Business Advisory Service. Now, under Digital Solutions, the program is delivered quite differently. What you can actually do is you can access up to 7 hours of individualized mentorship for $44. Now, the mentorship covers across 5 key areas for the program: social media and digital marketing, online security and data privacy, websites and selling online, and using business software. So if you'd like to find out if you're eligible or not, here's what the requirements are. You must have an ABN that is registered in WA, the NT, or Queensland. You have to be running a business that's a for-profit. So if you are a not-for-profit, unfortunately, you are not eligible. You also have to have less than 20 full-time employees. So if that's you and you would love to dive in with an expert, what you can do is you can go to businessstation.link/register, and you can register your interest, pay your $44. Now, when you do that registration process, you can give them some information that will help them match you to an advisor like myself who's an expert in a specific area. So you can say, I would really like to select someone who can help me with my Facebook ads, or someone that can help me with my Shopify website. So if you give them that information, you're most likely to be allocated to the correct advisor. If you would like to work with me, and I'm Sarah Thompson, you can put me on your list and I can be the advisor you get allocated to. I will say, if you do that, I'm booked out for the month of November, but you can request to start with me in December. That's absolutely fine. But we do have a team of about 25 advisors, and we're all experts in our specific areas. So whether you get allocated to me or to someone else, you're going to have a great experience that's going to help you move your business forward. So that's everything from today, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. It's I don't like webinars because no one gets to talk to me and I get all lonely, but I hope that you've enjoyed today, and I hope you found this experience really worthwhile. And just a quick promo, I'm running, so if you check the Business Station website, they've got all of their workshops and webinars on there, and I'm running a webinar called Christmas Content, and it's all about creating content ideas for Christmas. So I think it's next Friday, the 2nd of December. So you'll get lots of ideas on how to write Christmas content for your business. So if you're interested in that, come and join me. It's another free webinar. But thank you all for joining me today, and thank you for your lovely feedback. All the best with the month ahead. See you later.